Welcome to the show, everyone. This is the Voices of Healing podcast. I'm your host, Tina Clark. Today's guest is Paul Quinton. He goes by many titles, but one of them is transformational specialist. We were just talking about how difficult it is to even talk about or label ourselves as energy workers or healer, which Paul doesn't like that term, but he's probably helping people to heal themselves is what we're really doing. And we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about energy healing and a little bit more about Paul's background and the modality that he created. And let's just go from there. So welcome to the show, Paul.
Thank you. It's lovely to be on, Tina. Great to see you again. Thank you.
So tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself.
Okay, so basically I grew up in a spiritual psychic family. So I was introduced to the non-physical, shall we say, from a very early age. And I used to see spirit, I used to smell them. My senses were quite open at that age as well. And we used to do sort of Tuesday nights, we would have sittings or what we call seances. It was more rescue work. So we would sort of connect in with spirit, we'd get information, but we'd also help stuck souls. So often, souls would come in traumatized, or they just weren't aware that they'd passed over or had a terrible accident, or, something had happened to them. And so there was a lot of that going on, because obviously when you open up those circles, it's like a moth to a flame, and obviously those energies. So that was my experience. And I sort of got to understand that was a reality, from a very young age. Don't get me wrong, it did bring up some fear as well, because obviously when you're that age as well, you don't know how to sort of articulate it all. But most of my family were doing it. So that was basically, how I started. And then my mum used to channel, and she used to channel the old way, where she'd actually, the being would come into her, but she'd start to speak with a man's voice. So it was always quite bizarre. And so we used to talk, and he was more came in when I was sort of my early teens, mid-teens. So he was with us, and we used to do that every couple of weeks for probably a year or two. And we used to talk on all kinds of things. So he would talk to me about the universal consciousness, about life on other planets, and, the frequency of why we're here. And there was many questions. And so that was a great experience as well. And then also knowing spirit were always there. And so then I had a normal life. I was a normal teenager. I worked in bars. I used to run bars. I worked on cruise ships. I was in the military for 6 years. And it's only since 2001 have I really sort of got into this work full time as a career. And then even on the cruise ships, I was teaching, Reiki and doing talks on energy and stuff like that. And that was great. And so really it's been a journey of self-discovery as well. And I think, why when you mentioned the word healer at the beginning, is because there's a lot of old energy around the healer, and it's almost like people expect you to fix them. But spirit have been very, very clear with me, and I used to believe that as well. We all do. But when you have a channeling experience, you talk to spirit directly, they sort of shift things, and they also tell you your consciousness is not perfect, and there's a lot of things they don't know. And so healer is a sort of redundant, really, because we create everything. We're the creator and destroyer of our own lives. So everything that's happening to us in this life is a mirror of something unresolved. So really a healer, in a sense, the gift of a modern day healer now is psychic and intuitive development. If you've got your intuition, your psychic awareness sharp, you can see what that's going on in them. As soon as they hear it and they put their consciousness upon it, this is when we start to create healing and oscillation. Because I remember you talked about universal laws, and I'll get into that in a minute. So that's sort of been my journey so far, and it's been fantastic. And I think only in the last 8 years have I been channeling. That's when I brought my alignment modality through, which is a 4-part modality. Spirit have said to sort of teach it this way. It's for the new age, not so much the new age, but the new earth consciousness. It's a very simplified way of healing, bridging science with spirituality, because this is for the mainstream. And so, because everyone needs to awaken now, this is a planetary, universal issue of this transformation. So we can't really deny it any longer. And then I've written a book that's with a literary agent at the moment, so getting published soon. We've got the London Book Fair next week, so hopefully she'll pick someone up there. And I'm just creating. I've got some online platforms I teach. I've written some oracle cards that I'm about to publish as well. So really, just in the infancy of pushing all this new work out. And a lot of my work really needed to come into play post 2024, which was the rebirth of the Aquarian age. 2023, sorry. So we're sort of going into the third year now of that initial frequency alignment. So this work is now becoming more awoken, shall we say, for the mainstream as well.
Yeah, so you've been doing this for a while, and basically your entire life, because every time you say you grew up in a psychic family, you have a little twinge of envy, because I did not, and I'm the only one in my family that's really using my gifts and putting it out there. And so there are people in my family that are sensitive, but they're not doing anything with it, and they're pushing it away and then looking to me to rescue them. And
Yeah.
and I actually got
to,
yeah, I actually got to the point with my niece, who's very gifted, probably more than me. She kind of got into a tangle, and I said, "Girl, you got to figure it out, because your energy is attracting spirits, and you have to figure out how to protect it. Or I can help you, but I can't always rescue you in that way." You know what I mean? She's almost 30 years old, so it's time to start doing that kind of work. But tell me a little bit more about the alignment modality. I know this is a form of energy healing, but can you describe more in detail what it is?
Yeah, so basically, so when there's an evolving planet, which we're about to come into a new shift of consciousness. There's, depending on the intention, so you'll get many spiritual collective forces. The ones I work with have been here since the start anyway, but you'll get many spiritual collective forces coming together because they share the same intention. So what happens is the non-physical will then say, right, well, this is humanity at the moment. This is the way we need to shape and change the frequency of how we teach humanity to awaken. So in the old days, we go meditate, sit under a tree for 12 hours a day, blah, 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 or we go to the old temples. But unfortunately now, because humanity's sort of going backwards, we're so convoluted in our in story, getting people just to feel their intuition and emotions is very, very hard. And people don't want to go into self-inquiry. So they've simplified a technique, and it's a 4-part module. So first part, and I'll just summarize because there's a lot to it. But the first part is working with the conscious mind. And this is really to get the ego at the back of your consciousness, where we're not getting rid of the ego consciousness, the mind, the fickle mind, the one that's the negative voice in our head. We're accepting it with love. We're giving it a space, because the mind's gift is imagination. So once we can start to break that polarity, get people to detach from the story, they can start to intuit more of their feelings and emotions. So the first part is really getting the control mechanisms out the way. And we give you activations like you would do like Reiki station, those things, but they're very different. You get a set of symbols as well. You also take some essences 3 weeks before, which is to prepare the body, to prepare the emotional body and the mental body, and also get the soul in alignment with the physical self as much as possible, because this is all about surrendering to the soul. The second module is mainly about the shadow consciousness. Excuse me. So we'll always work with the shadow, our personal shadow, which is our denial, which is our resentment, our rejection, our abuse, all of those patterns. But we've also got the shadow components. So all the religious programming, vaccines, we work with the brain as well, heavy metals, radioactivity, excuse me. And the brain, we actually start to energetically merge the 2 brain hemispheres, so you can actually create a magnet to draw in source coding, which is an original algorithm. So we really get into cells, we get into the atom, remoleculing, resequencing, and spirit do all this, of course, because this is a live modality with spirit. So you feel them come in the room. I'm channeling at the same time. Yes, we have a PowerPoint. It's a structured, as you would sort of a normal workshop, but very interactive with the non-physical. And really, it's about getting people to surrender to that soul and that alignment. So this is all the components that have been placed on us. And we work a lot with the reptilian brain part, the brain stem as well, because there's a low-grade frequency, about 20 hertz, that sits there and vibrates around there and actually causes us to capitulate unconsciously to misinformation. It feeds the ego with despair, what's causing us into a divide. That's why we're always questioning ourselves. There's a lot of energies attached to that. But also it stops us from awakening to stellar conscious, our non-physical and, the extraterrestrial race. Because if you think about it, I think there's 40 million planets just in our galaxy alone. And there's still a lot of people that you speak to believe that there's no extraterrestrials. Now, for them to believe that, there must be something seriously wrong with their perception and consciousness. And this is what this ban does. It stops you from accessing it. So,
well, it's almost like mind control, because
yeah,
they've been telling us for decades and decades that it didn't exist.
yeah.
And so, when you keep repeating something, people tend to believe it, even if it's not true.
Yeah. Well, that's how co-creative consciousness works. That's how COVID did. So they say, right, well, we probably have to go into a lockdown. Everyone believes it. We create it. We're always creating our own thing. And this is what I was talking about. We are the creators of everything. So I'll talk about COVID, but we won't go into all that now, because there was obviously a lot of light in that experience as well. But the third module is really about it's starting to connect directly with spirit. So you start to have your own personal experience. And we bring in different consciousnesses. The Syrians, which is come from Sirius, the star constellation, but they're also the ancient Egyptians, okay? Because we had 5 seeded races. So they work more with the soul. So we start to get people to come in and start working more with their soul, so they can have their own experience. It's very subjective. We do a few more activations. Every module has psychic intuitive development. There's always group practice. We really push that, because then people can trust their own feelings, trust their own abilities. I think that's very, very important. And then the 4th module is really can't be written in words. It's your direct experience to what you believe created you. Okay, so it's really about having that complete connection to source energy. And also we start to get you to channel as well. I start taking people through the channeling process. So they'll get a pen and paper. They'll allow that information to move through. And of course, there are more activations that we do and removals. And there's some very, very powerful meditations that are, again, channeled, but they take you deep into the subconscious. And they also take you deep into the heart, because the heart portal or heart chakra is the access point to all universal consciousness. And so we really start to work with that. And we teach about the meridians. A lot of people do a lot of chakra work, but actually the problems lie within the meridians, not the chakras. The meridians feed the chakras. So the meridians is the blueprint of the physical body. So when a soul decides to incarnate, it will lay the blueprint down first, the meridian system. Everything unresolved from that last life will get wired into that meridian system. Then the heart starts to form, then the hypothalamus, because the hypothalamus is the physical component of the subconscious mind. So everything that's unresolved or denied gets programmed into that. Then that starts to wire into the physical body. And then obviously the chakras start to form, and they are the energy centers. But a lot of this, when you start to work at the meridian level and you can actually start to tune in, you can get a lot of clearer information than working through the chakras, because the meridian system is a direct connection to the non-physical. So when you get the chills on your skin, which is always confirmation, that is the meridian system lighting up. Okay, so everything, all dysfunction is wired in there first. So that's very interesting. So we really give a lot of esoteric information. The world's full of misinformation, so we start to change the frequency and help people to let go of that information, because it's very programmed, and we do a lot of heavy ancestral energy work. So that always comes in, because the directive now from spirit, and they've been very, very clear for the 2000s, is to heal your emotional body, heal your ancestral line, and awaken to the non-physical reality. They are the 3 objectives for what we're moving into now.
So this process, is this like a group workshop that's in person?
Well, I do it all online now. So it's again,
okay.
COVID, because it's brilliant, because I actually have an international audience. Most of the times I have 2 or 3 continents on the workshop. You never get that as local traffic. And, and funny enough, I moved out of London more to the country during COVID, just before I launched it. So even just getting local traffic would be a lot harder. But no, it's all meant to be online. I'm meant to reach an international audience, So
is it several days, or how long?
Yeah. So every module is 12 hours. So you'll do it's over 4 nights. So you always add 3 hours over 4 per night. And that's module 1. And then generally you will have two, depending on the group, we'll have about a 3-month between each module, because you have to have that integration. But we do follow-up sessions, always follow up as well. So it's very much about creating that community, because a lot of people have things coming up they're not aware. So there's a lot of support. We offer group practice as well. And each group, which is funny because every group is different in some ways. So when we're channeling, the information for that group will be different to the other groups. And also everyone, even though they don't physically know each other, they've all had past lives or other lives together, because there's a group energy that needs to heal. And that sits in the soul star, which is the 9th chakra, because we work with the 9 chakras, not the 7. So, you know, we will live within 9 realms as a human beings. And actually the 9 and the 1, the earth chakra, is the anchor for the auric field. So we have to work with those 2 anyway. Because if you don't work with those, you can actually stay in a physical body on the planet. So it's very important that we start to, because a lot of the old earth stuff, you know, the old chakra chart, all the different colors, that's not true either. Every chakra is rainbow in color. It has all the colors of the rainbow in each chakra, because no one is greater or less than. So when they were bringing through the 7, you heard about the 7 planes of existence, 7 planes of consciousness, 7 chakras, that was brought through when the information on the planet was a lot denser. So this is back in the 20s, 30s. And basically, the evolution, the consciousness wasn't awake then. So we could only bring a certain level of information through. But now everything's opening up. So, because even the symbols now, when we worked with the symbols 2 years ago compared to now, the potency of the symbols are much stronger, because consciousness is evolving and the atom is changing. So we're moving into a different frequency. So everything's more lucid and open. So you can receive much easier. So it's very fascinating, you know, and it's still evolving, obviously. You know,
well, that's the best news I've heard in a while. Because sometimes you feel really stuck, you know.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and you feel like things aren't moving, and you know, you keep repeating the same messages. I'm sure you have. And is anybody out there hearing us? You know.
Exactly.
But so, what kind of outcomes have you seen with people who have participated in this alignment modality?
Yeah. So look, let's just be clear. Spirit are very clear. This is their words, pretty much verbatim. Human beings have become so polarized in their consciousness that it's hard for them to break free. And we're always thinking that, okay, I need to get out of my physical body. So as soon as you start talking about 5D and ascension, you're completely out of alignment, because Spirit have been very, very clear that we are multidimensional beings. You're already ascended. So there's nowhere to go. What we need to be is human. They want us to be human. They want us to awaken our soul body around us consciously. So we're in constant communication with the soul. Then what happens is you take a step back, and you don't have all that masculine energy of striving, struggling, trying to get ahead. You surrender to the power of in, and everything just manifests in front of you. That's the purpose of this work. You're already perfect. You're already powerful. You just need to be still. Surrender to that feminine energy. Now that the feminine energy is rebirthing itself, this is why healing now and going to self-inquiry is very, very powerful now, and it's the right time to do it, because you're going to get so much support. And we are craving that unconditional love of that feminine consciousness, because we are so stuck in that masculine energy. And that's why the world is so out of balance, because it's, you know, in chaos. But, you know, all this chaos is going on now is actually the shadow revealing itself, so that we can create oscillation between a unilateral whole, because everything's about polarity now. We have to bring everything swinging back into polarity. And so transformation with my clients, or what I've seen people change their careers almost overnight. They've manifested things, and they always say, like, I don't understand how that just happened, because it literally, the soul steps in and just manifests it all for you. But mostly the main thing people see is they just start to wake up. They're less reactive, they're more confident, stronger, more aligned. It's an internal thing, and it's this presence, it's that natural self rebirthing itself. And people have the courage to say no. They have the courage to step out of, you know, relationships that aren't in alignment, and really just find that they disconnect from the misinformation that we're all pulled into, and they start to have a different awareness. And most people say, I can actually step back and observe now what's happening to myself, whereas before I was polarized into it, because what's going on now is every soul on the planet is coming to their physical self saying, look, we need to wake up. You need to wake up now. And if you're not, then obviously you will leave the planet, because you can't exist in the old Earth, in the new Earth, because even, like I said, down to the atom is spinning fast, so you can't vibrate in that frequency. And also the emotional body can't move into that new frequency because it's not in alignment. So what happens is the emotional body then triggers illness and disease. This is why the cancer and disease and mental illness is tripling, especially this year, because the shadow is being pushed to the surface, so you can't go into denial any longer. So this is why it's very important. But if you go into self-inquiry, you will get all that love and support almost instantly. And your life can change 180 very, very quickly. But you have to have the intention to let go. So, yeah. So mainly, yeah. So the transformation is a beautiful shift within themselves, finding themselves, letting go of the old framework, feeling more confident, more focused, less confrontational, and then can make decisions that are more in alignment with their soul, not fear of the ego,
Yeah.
or what society has told them to do. Yeah.
So let's talk about how to transform emotional charge through universal law.
Yeah. So again, what we do is Spirit said, look, people aren't going to believe all this stuff, which is fair enough. The man on the street's not going to believe it to the two program. So they said, you need to bring the science in. So we introduced, I've got loads of stuff. I've introduced Bruce Lipton. My alignment modality is actually on his website now. So I've been recognized by his team, which is fantastic. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Emoto, which did he did the experiments with love and hate with water, because we are 90% water. And then Einstein. Einstein talks about acquisitiveness and imagination. He said imagination opens up universal consciousness, and it's the inquisitiveness. So instead of going, I'm going into a victim because you're always abandoned, if you actually put your hand up and say, actually, why am I being abandoned? That's when oscillation starts. That's when you can start to intuit more of the truth. So basically said inquisitiveness and imagination draws through universal consciousness, and it will open up depending on your intention. So if it's healing, you're going to start to heal. If it's information, you're going to start receiving information, et cetera, et cetera. So you're basically saying that, imagination is our most powerful tool that we have. Yeah. And, science is still trying to prove reality, but it's beyond time and space. You can't prove reality. And ironically, imagination is what created science in the first place. So really, it's about getting people to use their imagination, especially men, because I have a lot of clients. Most of my clients are women because they're more open. And men are a little bit fickle. They don't believe. They don't trust. So these universal laws is bridging that science with the spirituality. And you work with those three doctors. It says it all, really. And so basically, when you observe an emotion, and this is what quantum physics, so we bring a little bit of quantum particle. So basically, they say, look, if you observe a wave particle, it would stay its normal. It'll stay in its normal frequency. When it's not being observed, it goes into erratic state. So it's the same as when you put your observation on the emotion, and you give it love and gratitude instead of getting fearful about it or feeling it's debilitating you. What happens is divine current moves into that space, creates the oscillation, and the emotion will let go. So it's basically observation, acknowledgement, and just accepting that it's there without judgment. So because we often go into the judgment. So when I'm taking my clients in, I'll say, look, we've got this story. This happened to you when you're 17. Right, they're in it. They're getting angry. They're getting all these emotions. And I say, once that emotion plateaus, like 10 is the highest, you need to go into that observation mode. And then what happens is the energy starts to shift itself, because the emotions are very intelligent. They will work directly with your soul. You can't lie to the emotions, and they will naturally let go. Because the irony is they want out of your body as well. But as soon as you attach to the story, you pull it back into your body. So the hard part is getting people just to observe. Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier how, the shadow's coming out, and now people are getting sick and seriously ill. And, what can people do about that? Where do they even begin to even start working with spirit, start understanding where it's coming from? A lot of this stuff is coming from childhood. I think it's suppressed. And so how do we even begin healing that or transforming that?
Well, first, you've got to have the intention to let go. You've got to be able to trust and say, look, yeah, maybe I don't trust this. Maybe I don't understand it. But, I need to do something because I'm not feeling great. So first, you've got to have the intention. That's really important because the intention is the foundation of everything. Everything created comes from intention. So then I would say to people, you need to find a workshop or a course, or just start reading up on consciousness, energy, see what you feel is right for you. But if you put your soul up in meditation, if you put your hand up in meditation, like you just close your eyes, connect with your soul in whatever way you want, and you just put that call out, synchronicity will unfold. Because then the next day you'll see something in the paper or on social media, or this course. And if it feels right, then you've got to do it. So the universe will give you signs back, but you need to put your hand up and say, I need to change. I want to go within now. I want self-inquiry. And it will come, because this is an illusion. We're in the matrix. So everything is mirrored back to us very, very quickly when the intention is there. And so, a lot of people start with Reiki. Reiki is a good start point because you get a little bit of understanding. You get the channeling process of energy. Reiki 1 is obviously about healing yourself. The information is there. That's always a good start. And there's a few other sort of more milder workshops that you can do. But generally, I would say just put your hand up, go into meditation. And people go, well, I can't meditate. All you need to do is just relax, close your eyes, breathe, and just imagine that your soul's in front of you. You don't need to visualize the soul. Just imagine it's there. And just say, look, I'm ready. And you will feel it. You will get some information back. But then you have to be open to listening. And like I said, then start searching like on social media or the websites for different things, and it'll come. And when you get excited, follow it, because that's the soul energy. If you get the chills on your skin, follow it. It's the spirit. They are the two guides that will never, ever lie to you. Excitement and chills on the skin. Everyone gets that.
What if you're excited at first and then the excitement goes away?
Good question. I know exactly why that is. Because the mind is in fear. The mind has a structure. This is who I am. This is what you've got to do. As soon as you question that, it's going to debunk the process. I've seen people have psychic experience where they've connected to non-physical, had information come down. They can't even believe what they're saying. They feel amazing. 3 days later, they denied it even happened, because they're so programmed to believe that that's not real. So the mind will always come. That's why we work with the mind in module 1, to get that frequency out of the way, to soften. Yeah.
Well, I'll give you an example, because I found this workshop out in New Mexico. It's a shamanic workshop, and in the beginning, I wanted to sign up right away. But I tend to be that kind of person that wants to do everything and says like yes to everything. So I have to step back and sit in it. And now actually it worked out, which is funny because there's something else that I've been invited to do around the same time.
Okay.
Which I said, well, maybe that's why I didn't sign up for that. But oftentimes I'll see something like that. I'll get real excited. And then, I sit on it. The excitement goes away. Yeah.
So it doesn't mean, that again, that's a very subjective thing. But excitement can sometimes be that thirst for it. So then if you do question it, and something else comes and it feels right, then do that. But if you're just questioning it and saying, oh no, I won't be able to do that. Oh no, it won't work. No, you've got to do this. We've already got this diary entry. No, I've got to go and work with the family. Then it's an excuse. There's a difference to what you had. So yeah.
Well, it kind of worked out in that way, that something else came up that I really wanted to do for years around the same time. So
there you go. Well, the shaman is calling you, so that's still authentic for you, but maybe at a different time in a different way. So yeah.
So I love a lot of what you're advising. I advise my clients as well.
There you go.
Which I love that we're on the same page. And it's just, I always say, be open to what happens. You don't have to believe all of it. No. You don't have to understand the ins and outs of Reiki. I don't even understand the ins and outs of Reiki. And I've been doing it for 11 years, but it works. Let's look at the results, and let's stop trying to analyze, and it doesn't matter. And then A lot of people come to me, I want to open up my abilities. I used to have it as a child and then
Yes.
I
Yes.
blocked it, or, something happened and I said, take Reiki, because Reiki will give you an understanding of energy, what is yours and what is someone else's, how to run the energy through your body. And then when you're in that doing Reiki, you're in a meditative state.
Yeah, exactly.
You're doing meditation and you go
Yeah.
into that alpha brain wave. So the
Yeah.
more you practice Reiki, the more intuitive you will be, and
Absolutely.
the more you will be in that relaxed meditative state.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And and it's all the healing that you're getting as well is amazing, and it's clearing the body out, it's clearing out the meridians, making you a clearer channel, and also getting you to trust the process. So it's because trust is the hardest for everyone at the end. Trusting the non-physical, trusting they can let go, trusting they got support. So I think Reiki's a really good start with that as well, because I think it's really, really good. I know a lot of people that benefit from it.
So, Paul, can you share your website and how people can contact you and maybe sign up for this? I want to sign up for this modality. There's things that you talked about that I didn't know, like focusing on the meridians instead of the chakras.
Yeah.
So share that information with the audience so they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got to update the new module 1 because I've just literally finished one last week. So I'm just getting a diary date in there. So when you go on the website, if you are interested, just contact me personally by email, and then I'll keep you in contact when the next one is. I haven't got the date just yet. However, it's www.alignmentmodality.com. So it's alignmentmodality.com. All my information's on there, my email, phone number. And then you've got all the information about the courses, my one-to-ones, my coaching, everything, healing packages, it's all on there. And I've also got some e-learning courses that you can download as well, and planetary range. I work a lot with the planets too, which is very interesting. So,
well, amazing. I'm excited. So I guess my soul is telling me something. Well, I know you're speaking the truth. That's why. And the truth always excites me. Well, thank you so much, Paul, for being on the show. And thank you for being on the planet and sharing your gifts with everyone, and your connection to spirit. It helps everybody.
Yeah, no, thank you, Tina. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's very rewarding, this work, as you know. Yeah, thank you.